So how do we really present bad news? How many of you need to present bad news every once in a while? Hands up.
I'm now going to bring up Tony's brother, and we're going to change the energy a little bit here. And we're going to look at, obviously over the past 2 years, we've probably had to deliver quite a bit of, we've had some challenging conversations and had to deliver some bad news. And hands up anyone here, who here loves giving bad news? Who enjoys sharing bad news? All right, so we're going to hands up, you're in trouble. Ladies and gentlemen, bringing you to the stage, sharing with you how to present bad news, Mr. Edwin Tan.
Yay! Thank you very much, Craig.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I just would like to ask all of you all to think about this, right? During the medieval days, King Arthur and his knights in shining armor sitting around the round table. And during those days, when you want to pass on a message from one person to another, there's no email, there's no WhatsApp messages, no one's got any IG, social media, none. What do you have to do? You would have to go on horse riding from one place to another. So think about this. If you are at the battlefield, it is the final battle of this entire whole two kingdoms going at each other. Final battle, the battle has been lost. The commander tells the messenger, you need to take this message to the castle and tell the king and all his people in the castle to leave straight away. That's bad news, isn't it? Now, the messenger will go on horse riding, and then he gets off the horse and he goes to the castle and he says, I've got news! I've got news! He is going to the king to present bad news in such a manner, I've got news! You would realize that the message and the way he presented it is incongruent. No one presents bad news that way with such enthusiasm. He will likely have his head chopped off. So how do we really present bad news? How many of you need to present bad news every once in a while? Hands up. There you go. And as Craig mentioned, do you like presenting bad news? Not at all. So we're going to have a bit of a snippet today on how to present bad news. To a very large extent, it is just two things. It's either a 2-point or a 3-point. You see, perhaps some of you just came from a Valentine's date dinner yesterday, yeah? Two persons, we eyeball each other, and then, here's a drink, this is for you. What do we have there? There's a lot of connectedness. We speak to the person speaks. It's like a verbal tennis. I say, hello, how are you? You look pretty, and say, oh, you're a handsome man today. That's all you do, 2-point, right? Connectedness. Now, when we present bad news as leaders, what do we have to do? You need to have that strength and at the same time, kindness to your employees. You need to command that authority, yet connect with them. Also, you need to present yourself as really confident, certain, but also at the same time, lots of kindness. Leaders are made of this. You need to present yourself well and at the same time, know your people. So how do we get to 2-point to 3-point? All you need is to get your person that you're talking to, as you're presenting their bad news, to focus on something else other than yourself. Other than yourself. It can be anything. And tonight I'm just going to use an example of a report. Now, think about this, right? If you were to go to a medical examination, you're going to be seeing the doctor, and then the doctor is going to have to present to you your medical report. What does the doctor do? The doctor takes out the report, or the doctor takes out the x-ray, and he says, well, Mr. Chiu, this is what you have here. The results ain't very good. And you can see here that these are the numbers that shows that you are pretty low in this particular area. And it probably means that you have to go through chemotherapy. Now, what did the doctor do? The doctor was speaking to the patient, but he was using the report as a focal point. This becomes the third point. So what is the patient doing right now? The patient's not looking at the doctor because the news is coming from him, yes, but the patient is looking at the third point. So the patient is not thinking that the doctor is the one presenting that bad news, but their focus is here. I'm not the bad guy anymore. It's the report down here. This is your third point. That's the focal point. In the business world, this is what you want to do. Say someone commissioned you to do a report of the financial health of the company. The results didn't come back too good. But you don't want to be the harbinger of bad news. Am I right? Same thing. Do the report and tell, well, Ms. Jones, what we can see here is that there are a couple of things that didn't go very well. These are the ones that we didn't meet the expectations. Some of them did, but these are the ones that exceeded expectations. Now, you then don't become the person who brings in the bad news. The bad news is on the report. So whoever your client is going to go back to his team and says, the report shows this. The report tells us that. It no longer is, Edwin told me this, and this is the bad thing. Edwin says this, and Edwin says this, and this. I become the bad guy. And that's what you don't want to do. So in a very short presentation earlier that I mentioned, it's really just about 2-point or 3-point. You don't want the person to become the one telling the bad news, but instead it becomes the report that becomes the bad news. All right? Now, just one final thing. You've brought him so low. Oh, it's just bad news. What I would suggest to you is this. After you brought him down, bring the person back up. Well, these are what we have done, exceeding expectations, but we know that this is something that we can do better, and these are our suggestions. And we will get ourselves back on track because that's exactly what we at the organization can provide you to do. Does that sound good? A 2-point or a 3-point presentation where the presentation allows you to take the focus away from you, but to go back to the third point.
Very good.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed all that.
Let's just say that. Let's say this. A big round of applause for Edwin. Edwin, stay up on stage.
Stay up on stage.
Up on stage. So Edwin's one of our lead facilitators here in Singapore, and I still remember the first time that we'd do a session called presenting bad news. And we've got all our presenters, and they do it in a way that's quite nice. And then Edwin comes in first day, and he's riding a horse online, right? And this is brilliant. So I absolutely love that he can bring his own authentic self. And that's something we love with part of our team, is the diversity of the people in the team. And even though we might have a set of curriculum that we use, it's so important for us that people bring out their own personality and their own authentic self. And so I just really want to thank you, Edwin, on behalf of the team here, and looking forward to some more live events here in Singapore.
Absolutely. Looking forward to live.
And look, did that feel like bad news? I don't think it could ever feel like bad news coming from Edwin. Edwin, thank you very much. Give a big round of applause to Edwin.